Hi there. It's a little dark in here. Let's see if I can get some light. Okay. I decided to go live again today. This is now later in the day. I did workbook lesson 345 this morning. I thought I would go back to Mayor Baba and also talk about Mayor Baba now that I've been doing this Jim Morrison thing. You may or may not be aware of Mayor Baba, but here's how you know Mayor Baba. If you know him, you you might know him just from the Bobby McFerrin song from the 80s, Don't Worry, Be Happy. He actually wrote that song based on something Mayor Baba had said and got put on a poster, and Bobby McFerrin saw the poster, and then he made the song. And I've since discovered that people think that's one of the worst songs of the 80s. I don't agree. I think that's a brilliant song. Bobby McFerrin is a great artist. Not many people know that whole song has no instruments except Bobby McFerrin tapping his body, tapping his chest, and doing all the different instrumentation that way. And you just listen to the song and you'll see that it's all him. There's got to be a name for it, but whatever he does, it's all him. um, so I think it's a cool song, and I'm I'm a little bit you know let down that people think that is one of the worst songs of the 80s, but I guess people have to pick on something. So anyway, how else do you know Mayor Baba? You know Mayor Baba, talking about pop culture, Pete Townsend of the Who, one of my favorite guitar players, one of the most influential guitar players for me personally, was a follower of Mayor Baba, and he started in the 60s. And Pete Townsend, you might think that Pete Townsend was a big druggie and the Who were big druggies, but I think the reality was, at least Pete Townsend, he might have taken some drugs early on, but after he started following Mayor Baba, he forswore drugs, probably alcohol as well. um I could be not fully correct on that point, but I think drugs for sure. And he was one of those voices in the 60s which did not, you know, he was a rock star that was not sex, drugs, and rock and roll rock star. But maybe that's why he was able to be as prolific as he was and write so many great songs. I think Pete Townsend should even get more credit than he gets. Um, let's read some quotes from Mayor Baba. Mayor Baba, let's just talk about Mayor Baba just for a moment. Why do I even think that it's important to talk about Mayor Baba? Mayor Baba is considered by his followers, and there still are followers, 55 years later after his death. He died in 1969, pivotal year, right? January 31st, 1969. So early in the year, he died. He had been silent from the 1920s until that point. He went into silence. He had this very profound mystical experience that was brought on by a Sufi woman that he met, and he went into this deep mystical state of consciousness. He came out. He went into silence. He was silent for the next 40 some years of his life. He kept saying that he was going to break his silence, but he never did. Apparently, he died before he broke his silence. He also was controversial because he claimed that he was the avatar of the age. Also, he used the term Christ. He was the Christ of the age. And so a lot of people, even though they thought that there was something to this guy, also thought, well, if he's really that great, why does he have to say that he is the greatest? It's like Muhammad Ali, I am the greatest, right? You would think that in the realm of spirituality, that's a no-no, and that you don't make such extravagant claims for yourself, and anyone that would do that would have to be a charlatan. Um, now there's a there's an interesting book. I want to get the book again. I haven't I never read the whole book. I read parts of it. I read the part about Mayor Baba. So this guy named Paul Brunton went to India, I believe in the 30s, and he met Mayor Baba. And he did not have the greatest things to say about Mayor Baba, partly because of Mayor Baba's claims to divinity and to, being all the way there. Um, this video might be 2 or 3 parts, just like the Jim Morrison video. I also think it's interesting that Jim Morrison and Mayor Baba basically died in the same time period. This is also the time period that Janis Joplin died, and Jimi Hendrix, and a number of other rock stars died young right around that time. Brian Jones is a well-known one. They all had J's in their name, which is interesting too. um, there were several others. The other thing I want to mention about Mayor Baba, and I have talked about this before, is that Mayor Baba, I've met people who have claimed, I've met 2 people in particular who claimed to have been visited by Mayor Baba. Mayor Baba was right there in the flesh before, in front of them, after Mayor Baba had passed. This is after 1969, after he had quote unquote left his body or whatever. These people met Mayor Baba, and they were absolutely convinced that they had. I also I have a friend he's still alive, and he in 1969 took LSD at January 31st. He he was on an LSD trip, and at the end of the trip, he saw in the clouds this figure, this face. He thought it looked like Zeus. And then when he got home, he turned on the radio, and the announcer on the radio said, Mayor Baba has died. And he put 2 and 2 together, and he realized that what he had seen in the clouds was Mayor Baba. That's what he thought, at least. And the face looked very, very real to him. And I think we've all seen things in the clouds, and there's pictures of cloud formations that are just mind-blowing, right? So I don't doubt that he saw what he did. Obviously, psychedelics can also definitely enhance those kinds of things. But I do think that maybe the divine talks to us through the clouds as well. Why not? Here's some things that Mayor Baba said. I'm probably going to do some more videos on this subject. I hope I piqued your interest a little bit. I don't think Mayor Baba. The other thing I want to mention about Mayor Baba, and I've talked about this as well in some other videos I've done, but bringing it up again for a new generation. Mayor Baba had a part to play in the 60s. He wrote a pamphlet called God in a Drug, and the pamphlet was basically trying to tell the flower children, mainly in the West, mainly in the United States, don't take LSD. It's kind of like Donald Trump saying, don't take Tylenol, right? If you're a pregnant woman, don't take Tylenol. Mayor Baba was like, do not take LSD, or at least don't think that LSD has anything to do with spirituality. It's actually going to hamper your spiritual growth. Do not take it. It's harmful. And I think he said it's harmful physically, mentally, spiritually. And it was a very strong statement. And he put this pamphlet out. He was not in, I don't think he came to the United States, but he had his emissaries, disseminate this pamphlet, God in a Drug. And one person that read it was Ram Dass, who was Dr. Richard Alpert, who had been a professor at Harvard with Timothy Leary, and they were working with psilocybin first, and they got fired, or they were forced to resign from Harvard. And then they started to do research into LSD. And at a certain point, Richard Alpert Dr. Alpert wasn't, I guess he wasn't a doctor after that, or maybe he still was, I don't know. But he wrote to Mayor Baba because he became disillusioned with LSD, like many people did. And he wrote to Mayor Baba saying, I used to think that you were just a, you know, someone who didn't know anything about what they're talking about, trying to say something bad about LSD. And now I think that maybe you know something, right? So, and he wrote this letter, and Mayor Baba actually wrote back to him, probably through his, I don't think Mayor Baba actually wrote it. I think he dictated it to his disciple, who wrote the letter and sent it back to Richard Alpert. And in the letter, Mayor Baba said, the only value that LSD might have is for someone like you to find someone like me. And that's a paraphrase, but that's something like that is what. Let's see, get another light on here. Maybe not. It was that kind of message, very important message, because that got Richard Alpert thinking, I should go to India and I should try to find someone like that who can really explain to me, tell me about LSD and tell me about how to get into these states of consciousness without using LSD. And he eventually found his guru, Neem Karoli Baba. That's a whole nother story, and we could go into that. Let me read some quotes, though, from Mayor Baba, and then we'll just do a quick comparison with A Course in Miracles. The one thing that I think that I appreciate about Course in Miracles is you don't have a human figure. Of course, some people would say that Mayor Baba was not human, but you don't have a personality saying, I am the avatar of the age, listen to me, follow me. Now, is that what Mayor Baba was saying? I don't know for sure. I think he was, and he obviously was. He obviously did have a following. But A Course in Miracles does not have a personality. It's just a book, right? Jesus is not saying, worship me in the book either. He's saying worship is only due to God, not to me. I'm just your elder brother showing you the way home because I've been there myself. I've gone all the way with this. But I am not to be worshipped. Do not give your devotion to me. Do not have awe. For me, awe is only for God. So I want to get into that. I won't probably get into that in this video, but let's read a few quotes. God and love are identical, and one who has divine love has received God. Absolutely what Course in Miracles is saying, more or less. I said absolutely, but more or less, God has to be temporarily cruel in order to be permanently kind. Now that the Course would not agree with that. It does not agree with that. God is never cruel. God does not even know about the illusion. But I think we understand what Mayor Baba is getting at is that in order to find God, we do have to go on the journey, and the journey is not always the easiest thing to do, to go on. And sometimes we get wake-up calls that bring us into the journey that seem cruel, but then later we realize it was for the best, right? So that, but let's go on. Who says God has created this world? We have created it by our own imagination. So that's also what the Course says, right? There is no higher or lower goal. There is only one goal, self-realization. Okay, also the Course. God alone is real and all else is illusion, also the Course. Truth is simple, but illusion makes it infinitely intricate. The person is rare who possesses an insatiable longing for truth. The rest allow illusion to bind them ever more and more. Now, the Course does not say that in so many terms, but so many words, but I think also that's the subtext of the Course is that, and what Helen was saying is that this is really a course for very few, because very few people are actually going to take this all the way and will really fully try to understand what this is saying and live it and embody it and become the embodiment of the Holy Spirit. Very few will do that. And I think that's what Mayor Baba was also saying. Love and forgiveness is not for the faint-hearted. Also, the Course does not say that, but that's also kind of the subtext of the Course. It's not easy work. Simple, but ain't easy. It's not your grandmother's religion. Or maybe it is. Love can attain what the intellect cannot fathom. Right? So, and this is also the Course. The Course, there's only so far you can go with the rational mind, with the logical mind. The rational mind can take you to the door, but then ultimately you have to, the Course does not use the word surrender, but you have to trust and let go and let go of the fear, right? But you have to use your mind to get there. You have to use your intellect. And the Course is a very logical document. It's a very rational, philosophical even document. Love can attain what the intellect cannot fathom. I just read that. Why is it so difficult to find God? Because you're looking for something you've never lost. Right. It's right under your nose, and nobody knows, but it's right under your nose. So close to you that it's closer than your breath even. And that's the funny thing, and that's why it's so damn hard, because who would think to look right under your nose? Who would think to look in their heart, right, for the answer and the mystery of life? Why seek a reality deeper than the changing forms? Yes, same with the Course. Course says the exact same thing. All illusion comes and goes, but the soul remains unchanged. So it's basically saying the same thing. And the Course doesn't use the word the soul. It uses the word spirit. Early versions of the Course actually use the word soul, but then the word soul got taken out, and almost exclusively we have the word spirit. But they're basically the same thing. You know, it's just, I think what they decided was, if we use the word soul and we use this word spirit, it might get confusing. Let's just use the word spirit. So spirit is unchanged. Spirit never changes. Spirit has always been the same. The forms keep coming and going, changing. Don't get caught up in the forms. God cannot be explained. God can only be lived. Jesus says something very similar in the Course. He says God cannot be explained. God can only be experienced, right? You know, truth can, actually he says truth, but God, truth, love, all the same thing. Now, after reading that, after hearing that, I hope you think to yourself, okay, well, maybe Mayor Baba knew something. I mean, that's what I think. It's like, all right, maybe Mayor Baba actually really was who he said he was, or maybe he was close to who he said he was. Maybe he said he was the Christ, or maybe he was, he said he was the avatar of the age because he wanted people to listen to him. And that's maybe one of the only ways you can get people to listen to you, is to make an outrageous claim or a controversial claim. And then you get people saying, the hell you're not. And then you get people talking about you. And then you get people looking into you and trying to understand you. And that's one way to do it, right? So let's not, there's no simple answers here, but I just want to broach the topic, and I wanted to hear your thoughts and see if you have anything you want to share about this. And I know there's maybe some Mayor Baba people out there. If you want to chime in here, please do. I'd love to hear from you. If you know the A Course in Miracles, and you want to compare with Mayor Baba, please do. I'd love to hear that. And I'll see you very soon. All right, part 2 coming soon. One love.